This is a tutorial on percent. A percent is just the ratio of some number over 100. So if I had 12%, and this is our percent sign, that just means I have the ratio of 12 over 100. And if I found the decimal of that ratio, it would be 0.12, because 12 divided by 100 is 0.12. So some common percents that you'll see are 10%. Well, that's just 10 over 100, and you could reduce that down to 1/10. And then 1/10 in decimal form is 0.10. Again, 25% would be just 25 over 100. And that reduces to 1/4, or 0.25. And 50% is 50 over 100, which reduces to 1/2, or 0.50. So if we're asked for 50% of some number, they're asking us to find half of that number. So now let's see how we can use percents. Say we're asked to find 20% of 300. Well, you could use the proportion, which is 20 over 100, because that's 20%. And we're looking for 20% of 300. So the ratio of 20 over 100 has to be in the same proportion of some number over 300. So since these are the same proportions, we can cross multiply, and we'll get 20 times 300 is equal to 100x. Well, 20 times 300 is 6,000, and that's equal to 100 times x. And if I divide both sides by 100, I'm going to get x is equal to 60. So 20% of 300 is 60. Now if we're asked to find 50% of 250, well, remember 50% is just 50 over 100, and this is going to reduce down to 1/2. So if we took 1/2 and we used the proportion, we're looking for the ratio of 1 over 2 to some number over 250. Well, to cross multiply again, we're going to get 2x is equal to 1 times 250, which is just 250. So if you divide by 2, you're going to get x is equal to 125. Well, notice when we found 50% of 250, all we did is find half of 250, or we took 250 and divided by 2. So 50% of 250 is 125. And since 50% is half of 100%, then half of 250 is 125. We can also use the decimal. 12% can be written as 0.12 because 12 over 100 is equal to 0.12. And remember, when we tried to find 50% of 250, all we did was take 250 and multiply it by 1/2. So we can take 480 and we can multiply it by 0.12. Well, 480 times 0.12 is equal to 57.6. So 12% of 480 is 57.6. Now let's see if we can go the other way and use some numbers to find our percent. Here we're asked 25 is what percent of 200? Well, we can use the ratios again, where we have 25 over 200, and we're asked to find the percent. Well, the percent is the number over 100, and these ratios have to be in proportion, so we can cross multiply them, and we'll get 25 times 100 is equal to 200x. Well, 25 times 100 is 2,500, which is equal to 200x. And if we divide by 200, we're going to get x is equal to 12.5. So 25 is 12.5% of 200. Now you don't have to use proportions again. Remember when we had 10% of something, that was equal to 0.10. So if we wanted to find 525 is what percent of 420, we can say 525 is equal to 420 times our percent. Now remember, when we do it in algebraic form here, we don't plug in 10, we plug in our decimal that represents our percent. So if we had 525 is equal to 420x, we could divide both sides by 420, and we would find that x is equal to 1.25. Now again, this is our decimal representation of our percent. So 525 is actually 125% of 420. Now let's try applying what we know about percents. Here we have a word problem that reads, Jerry buys a $50 shirt at a 20% discount. How much did Jerry pay for his shirt? Well, let's think about what's going on here. We have a total cost, and we subtract our discount, and then we get the cost that Jerry paid. Now our total cost was $50, and our discount is 20% of that $50. So we need to find 20% of that $50. So again, we can use proportions or decimals, whichever you prefer. We would get 20 over 100 is equal to some number over 50, and we can cross multiply. So 20 times 50 is equal to 100 times x, and 20 times 50 is 1,000. It's equal to 100 times x. And then if we divide by 100 on both sides, we're going to get x is equal to 10. So our discount is $10. Now if you wanted to, you could use decimals. We have $50, and we want to find 20% of it. Now when you use decimals, 20% is a 0.20. So if you take 50 and multiply it by 0.20, you still get 10. So either way you like to do percents, they both work. Now we found our discount to be $10. So the cost to Jerry is our total cost minus our discount. So the cost to Jerry is $40. Now there's another way to approach this problem. Again, we're going to have a total cost minus the discount is equal to cost to Jerry. Now our discount is 20%. And if you think of our total cost is the 100% price. Well, if we have 100% and we take 20% off, that means Jerry's going to pay 80% of the total cost. So instead of finding the discount, we can just find Jerry's 80% cost. Well, 80 over 100 has to be in the same proportion as some number over 50. So again, we cross multiply, and we'll get 80 times 50 is equal to 100x. 80 times 50 is 4,000, which is equal to 100x. And if we divide by 100 on both sides, we're going to get x is equal to 40. So again, Jerry's cost is $40. Let's try a different example. Here, Julie makes wooden toys. Each toy costs her $6.50 in materials, and she sells them for $8 each. What is her percent markup or her percent profit? Well, Julie is selling these toys for $8. And that $8 is $6.50 plus her profit. So her profit is $1.50 per toy. But we're not asked for her total profit, we're asked for her percent. So we need to find out what percent 150 is of 650. Because a markup is the percent by which the base cost, or sometimes called the wholesale cost, is increased. So what we want to know is the ratio of 150 over 650 is equal to what percent over 100? Well, again, we cross multiply. We're going to get 150 times 100 is equal to 650 times x. Well, 150 times 100 is 150. It's equal to 650 times x. And if we divide by 650, we get x is equal to 23.08. So Julie charges just over 23% markup. Our last example involves interest rates. Here, Tom puts $1,000 in a savings account that earns him 3.5% interest per year. How much money will Tom earn in his first year? And if he leaves all the money in his account, what will his balance be at the end of the year? Well, here we have Tom. He's got $1,000 originally put in. This is called our principal. And we multiply that by our interest rate, which is 3.5%. But remember, when we're multiplying by a percent, we have to divide it by 100. So this would be a 0.035 because it's 3.5%. So we would multiply that by 0.035. And he makes this interest per year. So we can multiply that by 1 for 1 year. And if we multiply all this out, we're going to find out that Tom makes $35 in interest in his first year. Well, if he leaves all his money in the account at the end of the year, he's going to have his original $1,000 and then his $35. So his balance at the end of the year is just $1,000 plus $35, or $1,035. And that completes the tutorial on percent.